Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Now, today I am joined by the amazing Preston Garcia. Preston, how you doing today, man?
I'm good, Ken. I'm good. I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm super good, and I'm really excited to do this. This is something we've been planning on for a while, and it's good we were finally able to make it happen.
Yeah.
So before we talk about why you're here, I want people to get to know you a little bit that don't know you yet.
Sure.
Preston is an actor and writer who also makes comedy sketches on his social media accounts. And the best part about that is you guys don't have to go searching for him because all of his social media links are right down here in the description below. So make sure you're following him so you can stay up to date with his comedy sketches, as well as some of the things he's working on, because he is a big fan of horror movies and hopes to direct one day. And when that finally does happen, you'll be the first to know by following these social media links down here. So what got you into being an actor, Preston? What gave you the push to finally be like, you know what, this is what I want to do with my life?
Dude, honestly, I want to say, Ken, it was probably when I was 10 years old. I think I started doing like auditions then, like as a kid actor. And I remember my mom, I think I was approached in a Target or something one day by like a casting agent. And that's kind of like how it all went down. And then I kind of stopped through middle school and I started making comedy sketches when Instagram rolled out videos for the first time.
Sure.
And then only around about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I started doing auditions again with my agent, Lori, who's amazing. And yeah,
love Lori to death, man. Lori is the reason this is happening. So
yeah, exactly.
Love you, Lori. We're so glad. I'm glad that you did this. You hook me up all the time. You're an amazing person. So well, and the thing that's awesome is, like, you talked about how you're a big horror fan and how you love to do sketch comedy. I've always felt, this is just my opinion, by the way, I've always felt that horror and comedy are the most closely related of the big genres, because it's all about timing. If you don't have your timing right with comedy, people aren't going to laugh. And if you don't have your timing right with horror, people won't get scared. So I feel like you look at guys like Jordan Peele, Vince Vaughn, these guys that are great comedians, great comic minds, they do amazing in horror because they know about timing and they know about the juxtaposition that can come with funny and horror together. So
yeah.
What got you? You said you started when Instagram started rolling out the video thing, but what gave you the, you know what, I think I could do this. I think I can make these comedy sketches.
First of all, I completely agree with you on what you just said, because before you even said it, I was like thinking, I was like, I feel like he's going to say comedians are always good at horror. That's 100% true. You're completely right on that. And two, to answer your question, honestly, I think it was when I was working. So I used to work at a barbecue restaurant from like 3 p.m. to like 11 at night as a busboy. And then I'd work at a Costco from 4 a.m. to like 1 p.m. So it was like, I think it was around that time where I was like, dude, I don't know what I'm going to do, but all I know is I don't want to do what I'm doing right now.
Right.
And I think I kind of saw like, the YouTube type era coming into fruition, like with people making money as a full-time job. So I think that's really what it was. It was like the realization of like, you know what, if I do it and I fail, at least I tried. But if I do it and I succeed, it will be fun. So I think that was really, it was the realization of like, you know what, screw it, I'll try it. A lot of other people are doing it. And yeah, I think that was really what got me in gear.
And like you said, what's the worst that's going to happen? I'm going to try. It won't work out, and I'll move on to the next thing. So
exactly.
That's the thing that we lack a lot, is the confidence to know that, you know what, we may do this and we may fail, but that's part of the game, man. And I'll tell you this right now, like in the business that we do, you hear no a fuck ton more than you hear yes. So,
and
it's a good thing though, because when you finally get those yeses, the way that you feel, you've earned it, and you get that just overwhelming feeling of happiness of, you know what, I've done it. I did it right. I did the right thing. I kept pressing on. I kept pushing on. I didn't take no for an answer. I worked my ass off, and I've gotten to where I am today. So I completely agree with you, man. For the every one yes you hear in this business, you hear 500 no's, man.
1,000%. And it's funny. I think before I even got my first acting gig, I mean, Lori would know the exact number, but I think combined the amount of auditions was like around 60 or 70. And it was just all no's. And it's like, yeah, you're completely right. Like, I agree with you.
And it's just about, that confidence. Like, you know what, these people, I may not be the best person for that job, but there is a job out there that I'm going to get. And when I do, people are going to see what time it is. So yeah, I'm proud of you, man, for keeping your chin up and keep it rolling, because it's really hard to repeatedly get punched in the face and get back up and keep walking. So good for you, man. And I wish you nothing but the most success in the future. Now,
thank you.
Before we go on, as always, we talked about what you got going on here in the future. You're a writer, soon to direct a horror movie. I'm putting that out into the world. I'm making it happen. It's gonna happen. Not a hope.
Thank
It's
you.
gonna happen. But in order to do that, in order to act in horror or direct in horror, horror had to start for you somewhere, Preston. So now I want to go back to the past and talk about what got you started in the horror genre, your first horror movie. And Preston, the first horror movie that you watched was?
It was The Conjuring, the first one to be exact. And I think it was back in 2000, I don't know, 11 or 12, whenever it came out. But all I remember is how scary that movie was, genuinely.
I still say that The Conjuring kicked something off with the possession. You know, you ended up getting like the Insidious, the Sinister, the whole Conjuring franchise. Like, horror has always gone in spurts. Like, for a while, it'll be your psychological horrors that are owning the mainstream, and then your slashers, and then, you know, your rape revenge, and it always goes in cycles. And I feel like The Conjuring was the beginning of the cycle that started that. And to this day, it has one of my all-time favorite jump scares when he walks in the room and then the lady comes out.
Look what you made me do!
Like,
dude,
that scene right there is one of my favorite jump scares of all time.
100%.
I just watched this movie. Like, I wouldn't see it in the theater when it came out, and then I watched it again a couple years ago when I first started doing this, and I had an episode on it, and it made me jump again. Like, I knew it was coming, and it still got me, man. So, do you remember who you watched it with the first time you had seen it?
Oh yeah, dude. I remember. It's funny you say that because I do remember exactly. So that's a great question. So I was with my dad. I swear to you, my dad showed me Saving Private Ryan probably when I was like 9, dude. He was showing me every type of movie you could. So we went to go see it. And Ken, do you remember when it first came out? There was like those cardboard cutouts saying like, "Hey, a lot of people need to see a priest" or something. Like, the marketing was just genius. You remember that, dude? So I remember we walked in. And I remember feeling like I was at a point of no return. The second the yellow font came up, The Conjuring, the sound, like the opera singing, dude, the audio in that movie sent a chill down my spine like no other. And that's why I remember. I was with my dad in the middle of a Regal. Dude, oh my gosh, I remember that like it was yesterday.
It's one of those things where I think the Conjuring score may be one of the most underrated scores out there.
Completely agree.
It's haunting. I mean, we always talk about the obvious ones. We talk about the Jaws, the Psycho, Halloween. You know, those are the big ones. You know, even Jurassic Park's another one. I consider Jurassic Park a horror movie myself, and I feel like that's another icon. These iconic scores. But The Conjuring has that score that is so subtle. It reminds me of, you know what? It reminds me of The Thing. Like, where John Carpenter's The Thing is known for being just an amazing practical effects, terrifying horror movie. People forget how great the score is, and
very
that's how I feel about The Conjuring.
deep. Yes,
man. So this is a very loaded question because you could say the whole fucking movie at this point. But
let's see.
Do you remember which scene it was from The Conjuring that affected you the most?
I think the scene that affected me the most was probably in the first 30 minutes of the movie. And it was when the mom was looking for the girls during hide and clap. If you remember that scene, I'm sure you do. And she goes in the basement, the door slams. And then this was in the trailer too. She's holding a candle and then just like off screen, just 2 hands clap.
Hey, wanna play hide and clap?
Such a simple scare. It was literally just clapping. I remember like going, oh my, like I had never been that scared at that point in my life. Dude, that scene was like, oh my God, it scarred me in a good way.
Right. Well, what I love about that scene is I always call those a magician scare. Because what that scene does is look over here, look over here, look over here, and then the left hand comes up. You know, it's using the magician's watch this hand while this hand, you know, she's looking down in the basement. You think something's going to happen from the basement, and then it comes behind her. You know, so
dude,
subvert your expectations of what you're looking for in that moment. And to me, that's because I'm one of those people that I love art. And if you're making art, I hope there's people out there that really, really love what you're doing. I've never been a huge fan of jump scares. They piss me off, to be honest with you. They scare me and I don't like it. And I think that they're abused in a lot of movies today. I think a lot of movies overuse a jump scare just, you know, for plot reasons. And that doesn't make sense. In The Conjuring, they have genuine jump scares, but also genuine scares. Like when they're in the little cellar thing and he's like, Bathsheba, and she turns her face and it turns into the monster.
Dude,
like
so good.
Yes, so good, man.
And like you can almost see the
monster for the
transition
first
under the
time.
sheet. Oh my god,
Yes.
dude. Oh, you're so right. That's crazy.
And again, I'm a huge fan of this movie.
Mhm.
So obviously The Conjuring is part of a whole universe.
Yeah.
The Conjuring is a big universe that's expanded to like 12 movies now.
Yeah.
Which movie in the Conjuring franchise would you say is your favorite of the bunch?
So I've literally seen all of them, actually. I'm a huge fan of Blumhouse and James Wan, which I'm excited about that new thing they're coming up with, which is
So
going to be
excited.
insane. But I think my favorite movie out of the whole universe, ironically, I think The Conjuring 2 was really when I was like, wow, this movie can do so much more than like scare. Because there were bits in that movie where I was like, oh, that's actually genius, whether it's the tapes or the simple just chair bit when it just moves, or even the crooked man was even just like, whoa, that guy can have a movie. That's crazy. And they only touched on him for like 5 minutes.
Right.
I think The Conjuring 2 was honestly one of my favorites. But then also, I think Valak, honestly, with the Nun solo movie, is a tad underrated because, I mean, let's be honest, I think La Llorona is not the best out of all of them. But I do think Valak's one of my favorite villains, which is probably why I like The Conjuring 2 a lot.
Well, I'll say that La Llorona, I think you might feel the same way as I do with a Hispanic background. If that movie wouldn't have taken place in California and it took place maybe in Mexico, it might have made a little bit more sense to me.
I completely agree.
And with The Nun, I think that The Nun is a beautiful movie. I think visually it's beautiful. But to me, The Nun fell victim to the jump scare. And it didn't have and again, I will say, and I'll fight till the end of the world, The Conjuring 2 is my favorite of the franchise too. And for the reasons you said, not only does it have the scares and the jump scares, there's love in this movie when they're genuinely, when he's singing Elvis in the living room and the family's all singing along with him and the mom starts crying. You're like, you feel a oh my God, I got little emo goosebumps right now.
That's
You know what I mean? Like you feel this like genuine love and like you really feel, and then like when they're on the bus and they put the two tapes together.
Help me, it won't let me go. Help me, it won't let me go.
I could do a whole 5-hour bit on what The Conjuring 2 means to me and the way that they tied up every story and that part with the nun when they're moving and then it gets to the picture and the hands come out and it comes forward.
Dude,
fuck, it wasn't a jump scare, it was just a fuck you. I'm
you
out of
watch
here.
it happen. Yeah, like when do you see that in these movies? Like you never see that anymore. You know what I mean?
Dude, it was such a good moment, like such a very good moment. One of my favorite. I think that's the reason I like The Conjuring 2 is it has so many of these different scenes in it that really hit me. Like even like I said, you're watching in the theater and you see him grab the guitar, and when you see that family start singing and the mom's looking at her kids and she's crying because for this 5 minutes everything's normal.
That's
everything's back to being okay.
Yeah.
And it's just like as a father, like that scene hit me. I'm watching my kids go through something that I can't understand. But for the next 2.5 minutes, everything's fine and we're all okay. That's beautiful writing, man. That's beautiful storytelling.
Completely agree. Great synopsis, by the way, Ken. That's awesome.
Thanks, man. Really I like my horror movies, man.
You do it for a living. Yeah.
Another question I want to ask you, obviously The Conjuring is still an ongoing thing. The universe is still ongoing, never ending. It was just announced we have The Nun 2 coming out next year and The Conjuring 4. Is this a universe that you would like to see continue expanding, or would you like to see it stay on the timelines that it's on right now?
Dude, I want to see every little trinket in Ed and Lorraine's closet or room. I want to see a movie made from every one of those. The potential, dude, behind that. I'm like, James Wan is a genius for that exact reason. I'm pretty sure they probably got all the IP from Ed and Lorraine Warren. Yeah. Dude, I am on that like side of like make as many as you can as long as they're good and you're not overproducing them, which it really doesn't seem like they are. But you know what I'd like to see? I would like to see maybe an HBO Max series titled The Room. And maybe it's the first season's 10 episodes, 10 objects.
That's fucking brilliant.
You know what I would love that.
It's like you could make it like an anthology, but it's all tied in together.
Right? 10 directors, 10 episodes. Dude.
Okay, listen. any writers out there, this is your guy right here. He'll direct it for you, and I'll just eat and watch my popcorn, man, because that's brilliant. I love that idea.
Dude, and that's just, it makes so much sense now too with the series, especially because I mean, you obviously can't make 10 movies in the next 5 years, but you can make 10 episodes in the next year, you know?
Exactly. And you could have the brilliant part about it is you could have Ed and Lorraine film in one day, because they could just be the wraparound, and you could each have all the different stories about where they would. You don't have to have Ed and Lorraine in the stories. You can do it like you did with Annabelle, or like you did with the Nun, or La Llorona, where you have the stories, but Ed and Lorraine aren't even an integral part of them. Like they're just showing that, and it's just like I think that's brilliant, dude. That could be a really cool.
Even if the series first frame of the series is that same room empty, and we fill it up in 5 seasons, object by object, you know, something like that. I agree with you. I think that would be so fresh and fun,
dude. That would be great. So, I'm just saying he has all the credit for it. I'm just like the guy in the background, like I heard about that. So I do want to ask real quick. Obviously, we talked about The Conjuring being your first horror movie and what that movie means to you, and what a great movie to start your horror life with. Yeah. But now, Preston, my little buddy Ghostface is here, and he has a question for you. What's your favorite scary movie, Preston? What is your favorite horror movie of all time?
Of all time, okay. So on a level of like what traumatized me the most, I think when I saw The Exorcist when I was like a 12-year-old, I was like, dude, that's insane that script even got picked up. That shit was scary, dude. But then, honestly, throughout the years, so I think The Conjuring falls in that. Have you seen Goodnight Mommy, but the German version? I believe it's German. Dude, that I remember being like, oh shit, that's crazy. And what they did with the mask and all that, I really, really, really like that movie. Fast forwarding a little bit, The Ritual on Netflix is really fun. The ending, I'm like, okay on, but the plot I love. I love the plot.
That whole movie is a story of regret, man.
Yeah,
like that whole movie is just a huge. Like I don't even look at that as like a monster movie, man. I look at that as like a total psychological horror. Like what could I have gone back and done different to make it so I'm not here right now?
100%.
Beautiful choice, man. I love The Ritual, and it's so underrated, man. No one's talking about that
underrated.
When he wakes up in the dream. I love when he wakes up in that dream and he's back in the liquor store. Oh, dude fucking great visuals, and it's like great storytelling. Yes.
Dude, unbelievable. I completely agree with you. And I think those are my honorable mentions, but it all comes down to me personally. And this might be a hot take, depending on what you like or don't like. I think the Paranormal Activity movies are not only my favorite, but scarily underrated. Scarily. Like the fact that there's no music, it's actually just bass. I'm like, whoa. But also the whole Toby storyline, I'm like, dude, that's so cool. And obviously, you know, the $16,000 turned into $200 million by Oren Borelli. Like, dude, I think those are my favorite personally.
Dude, you know what? And it's funny because I think honestly, the newest one, the marked ones, is one of my favorites, man. Like that one took me by surprise. I was like, wow. I mean, like to me, I don't hate the Paranormal Activity movies. I don't think there's any horror movie besides The Exorcist 2 that really I can't fucking stand.
Sure.
But I think like for me, like it's really hard. I couldn't tell you which Paranormal Activity is which. Like they all kind of bleed together to me. Yeah. But that last one really, really got me. I was just like, wow, like, there was a lot of good, genuine scares. It's just what a fantastic movie. And like I said, these movies are such an integral part of what horror is today. When you're talking about The Conjuring, Paranormal Activity, Sinister, Insidious, like these movies are so integral to where horror has gone. And we're starting to get to where maybe people will start to realize that horror rules the roost when it comes to cinema. Look at what Terrifier 2 is doing. I mean, Terrifier 2, they filmed that with a $200,000 budget, and they brought in over what, $20 million now?
That's crazy, dude.
Like,
it's unbelievable.
What the hell, man? Like, it's amazing.
Crazy.
And like you were talking about Goodnight Mommy, like it's funny because by the time this episode airs, me and Ashley's January episode of our show Didn't See That Coming is on Goodnight Mommy. And, we did it on the American version, obviously, because it just came out. But I will tell you this, man. In the German version, one part that really got me that's not in the American version, when they have the magnifying glass and they're burning the mom's face with it. Dude, oh my God.
And it's just like nothing. And it's like, whoa, dude, it's crazy.
I don't hate the American remake. Like, I don't think it's bad. I think Naomi Watts did an amazing job. The two boys are fantastic. They
Absolutely.
stayed essentially true. I think if you like your stories more wrapped up, the American version is for you. I think it wraps up like how Lucas died. I think it wraps up how what happens at the end a lot more than the German one does. The German one leaves it really open to your interpretation.
Yeah, like trauma or memory. Yeah, whatever it was.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that you want to talk about criminally underrated films. And I know there's a lot of people that get mad when the US remakes foreign films, but you know what? I love it. And here's
I love it
why.
too.
I'm going to go all the way back to The Ring, The Grudge, Goodnight Mommy, the upcoming Last Train to New York, which is a remake of Train to Busan.
I didn't even know they were making that.
Yes, it comes out next year. And what I love about these is, people that are big horror fans, we've watched these other horror movies from other countries. If you're not a huge horror fan, maybe you'll watch the American Goodnight Mommy, and then you'll go and visit the German one to see how you felt about it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with The Ring and Ringu, The Grudge, the upcoming The Last Train to New York. Maybe we can shine some light on these foreign films that don't get a lot of expression from people that aren't huge in the horror genre, that would never found these movies up until then. So that's why even American remakes of American movies, like you look at Child's Play, Halloween 2018, even though it was a requel, not a remake, the sales of Halloween 1978 went up like 38% when Halloween 2018 came out. Because people wanted to go back and revisit it, or people that had never seen it went back and watched it. Like, even if a remake or a requel is ass, it doesn't take away from what that first one does. It's not like they're like, we're going to remake this and all the old copies are getting thrown in a fire. You can still go back and rewatch the old one, man. So I dig it. I dig a good remake.
100%. I completely agree with you.
So I do want to say, Preston, again, thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with me for a little bit, talking about how horror started for you. But before I let you go, we always end this with the same question. We're going to bounce back to The Conjuring. And what we're going to do here is we're going to rank this movie on a skull count. Now, we're not ranking it on acting, production, score, direction, nothing like that. What we're going to do is we're going to rank this movie on how it affected you on first viewing. So 0 skulls being not effective, 5 being extremely effective. You can use half and quarter skulls anywhere in the middle. What would your ranking of The Conjuring be?
Dude, that's an awesome part of the episode, by the way. That's so cool. Dude, probably okay, Annabelle was introduced and that screwed me up. Dude, honestly, I would probably do 4.1 skulls, to be honest.
That's perfect, man. See, it's funny because I've always talked about, like, if I'm ranking a movie on being a film, I've literally, in 36 years on this planet, I've given one movie a perfect ranking. And funny enough, that's Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I think that movie's fucking perfect.
That's awesome.
That's perfect.
Yeah, for what it
movie.
is. Yeah.
But like, it's just hard for me to say something's perfect because there's always room for improvement. But when we're looking at how movies affect us, Sinister to me is a 5 skull. I think Sinister is amazing. There's a newer film. I don't know if you've seen it or not. It's on Shudder. It's called The Dark and the Wicked.
No.
Dude, I watched this movie for the first time last year, and it scared the hell out of me. A 35-year-old man, and I thought I was desensitized to horror. I was like, oh, horror doesn't scare me anymore. I watched The Dark and the Wicked, and I was genuine. I watched it at like 2 p.m, and I was genuinely like opening blinds and shit.
That's sick.
Dude, if you get the chance to watch The Dark and the Wicked, I cannot recommend it enough. In the last 15 years, not only is it the scariest horror movie to come out, it's probably my favorite horror movie to come out in the last 15 years. Like, it's just, the acting is phenomenal. The story is great. The timing and the pacing on everything is amazing. And exorcism type, religious type horror movies scare the fuck out of me, man. Like, I grew up very heavy religious, like The Conjuring, that stuff. This movie has a lot of religious undertones to it, so I catch a lot of what they're saying with the religious stuff. And it's just, dude, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful movie. Yeah, please do. So
thank you for the recommendation.
Oh, anytime, man. Dude. Anytime you need a horror recommendation, I know a guy that can give you some. So I do, again, guys, I want to remind you, I said it at the beginning, but we're almost at the end now. The credits are about to roll. curtain's about to drop. But before it does, make sure you're following Preston on all his social media links. They are right down here in the description. So you're going to want to stay up to date on everything that he has coming up, because he has a very bright future coming up, and you're going to want to be a part of that. So make sure you're following him. Preston, don't go anywhere, my friend. I got a couple more questions for you.
Awesome.
Everybody else, as always, keep talking horror, stay what you are, and we'll see you guys soon.